sun is shining today in Southwest Florida, where we call paradise home.
Hi, my name is Scott Berry. I'm the broker and owner of Sandcastle Realty Group in Southwest Florida. And today I'm here to talk about FIRPTA. What is FIRPTA? FIRPTA is the Foreign Investment in Real Property Tax Act. Basically, when a foreign seller sells a property in the United States, the IRS wants to make sure that they capture any capital gains taxes that may apply to that sale. And since the seller, if it's a foreign seller, typically does not have a tax ID number or a social security number or anything like that, the IRS requires that proceeds of the sale are withheld until the IRS can determine if there are capital gains taxes that apply and how much. So it's the buyer's responsibility. If the buyer is purchasing a property from a foreign seller, it's the buyer's responsibility to ensure that funds are withheld from the sale of the property to be applied to their taxes to the IRS. Now, the way it currently works, today is January 8th, 2016, and the way it has worked up until this point is that the buyer was responsible for withholding 10% of the sale price for FIRPTA. And that would be held in an escrow account, again, until the IRS figures out exactly what is owed. There was one major exception to that. There's actually several exceptions, but the one that we talk about and hear about the most has to do with residential use of the property. So if the buyer is willing to sign a residential use affidavit and they need to live in the property for at least 50% of the next 2 years, and if the sale price was under $300,000, then that would be an exception to the FIRPTA rule, and the buyer was not responsible for withholding that 10%. Very, very important changes coming up February 16th, and this is actually part of the PATH Tax Act, which is protection against tax hikes, is what the act is called. And the changes to FIRPTA are actually buried in the middle of this tax act, which is why not many people know about it. So I wanted to make sure that everybody is aware of it. And the changes to FIRPTA are, again, the buyer purchasing a property from a foreign seller, it's their responsibility to withhold funds at closing. The new changes as a result of the PATH Act are going to increase the 10% to 15%. So the buyer is going to be responsible for withholding 15% of the sale price for FIRPTA to comply with the IRS rules. Now, the exception is still there if the buyer is going to reside in the property at least 50% of the next 2 years and they're willing to sign a residential use affidavit. However, it's a little bit different because basically what happens then, if that exception applies and if the sale price is under $1 million, it's not $300,000 anymore, then the exception applies, which means that the buyer is only responsible for withholding 10% of the sale price. So again, just to recap, the way the rule is going to be as of February 16th, and any properties that close after February 16th, regardless of when they were signed or when the effective date of the contract is, anything that closes after February 16th from a foreign seller, the buyer is responsible for withholding 15% of the sale price unless they are going to reside in the property for at least 50% of the next 2 years and the sale price is under $1 million. And if that's the case, then the buyer is only responsible for withholding 10% of the sale price. I hope this information has been helpful and will be useful for you. If you have any questions at all, I know this is complicated. There are actually many more exceptions to the FIRPTA rule that get extremely complicated. And I always recommend that you consult with a tax attorney and or a real estate attorney. I'm not an attorney. This is not legal advice. I'm just simply providing the information as a service to you. Also, if you're looking to buy or sell any property in Southwest Florida, you need to call Janet Berry. Call her or text her 239-450-1892. That'll get you immediate service, or you can visit her website, janetberry.net, and she can help you out with any of your buying and selling needs in Southwest Florida.
Did you know Janet Berry can help you buy or sell any property throughout Southwest Florida? Well, it's true. Janet Berry, unsurpassed service and experience. Janet Berry is committed to getting the results you deserve.